Hi, my name is Matt Street, and I'm the Chief Enterprise Architect with PSSI. The innovation that I'd like to showcase today is NAV Widgets. Now, NAV Widgets are lightweight apps that expose the functionality or tap into the functionality of Microsoft Dynamics NAV web services. Some of the design principles of NAV Widgets are that they are extremely easy to use, very straightforward for users, and that they focus on a single area of NAV functionality. Today, NAV widgets come in two different varieties. We have NAV widgets for iOS, which run on the iPhone, iPad, and iPod, and we'll get to those a little later in the presentation. We also have desktop application widgets. These widgets are written in Java Swing so that they're cross-platform. So they can run on Macintosh, they can run under Windows, and they can run under Linux or anything else that supports a Java environment. I'm now going to demonstrate a few of the widgets. These first two are what I call the informational widgets, and that could be, we have an inventory widget that if you type in some of the information into the search by name, you'll see that we get back anything that contains that word or that part of the word within the inventory data. If I click on one of these, I can see more information about it, and these tabs are meant to kind of expand the functionality and show more and more information about the inventory item. The customer widget is very similar. It will allow you to retrieve customers by parts of their name. If I click on our favorite, the Canon Group, I get more information about them, and then again you can have tabs down here that would show more and more information about the customer. Very simple, very straightforward, just meant for informational lookups. Each one of those only tap into one service, the item card or the customer card, depending on which widget it is. The next widget that I'd like to demonstrate is a little more advanced for a couple of reasons. This widget is time entry, and it interacts with the job journal. It's a little more advanced because, one, it will both read and write data to the job journal, and it's tapping and utilizing a number of different services that Division has exposed. For example, here are the resources that we have available to us, and this is calling one web service to retrieve the resources. When I click on Mark, I can see entries from the job journal that relate to the resource Mark, and we can see that if I bring over the NAV instance. Here are the entries that are in the job journal. So what I can do with Mark or Mary or with any of these resources is see what entries are in the job journal for them. I could double click on one of these and see more information about it. I could edit this value, and if I successfully edit it, it would go and change in NAV. We're going to go do something a little different with this to show that it's updating NAV properly, and we're going to add an entry for Mark, and it comes up with the current date. We can use this picker to pick a date. Use these pickers to show the available jobs that are out there in NAV. So here's another service that it's tapping into, is the actual job table, and then job tasks. So we'll say that we're going to assemble some furniture. We'll assemble 3 desktops or desks. And here is yet another web service, and it's getting the unit of measure information for the resource Mark. So these are the unit of measures that are defined for the resource Mark. We'll pick hour, and we'll say that it took them 4 hours. Confirm that, and now we see our entry on 9/24 that we assembled 3 desks. If we look back at NAV and do a refresh, we should see the entry put in there, assembled 3 desks. The last desktop application widget that I'm going to show today has to do with production orders, and mainly consumption. So this is a more complex widget as well, because it taps into a number of web services, and it interacts with the consumption journal. It reads and writes information from the consumption journal, as well as a number of other sources. For example, here we're seeing a list of production orders by their status. We're going to concentrate on the released ones and deal with this particular production order. Look at a little information about that, and the majority of the functionality comes in this consumption button. So this is a summary screen that is showing us the planned quantity that have been planned for each item within this production order, what's been posted for each production order for each item, and what is unposted. In other words, what's still in the consumption journal that hasn't been posted. So this is a quick little status display, and we can see the detail behind what's been posted and what's been unposted by going to these tabs. Then we can double click on one of these entries, see that consumption journal entry. We can edit it, or we can add more to it. So here we pop up with our date. There's our item. I can put extra description, say that was a defective part that we put a quantity 1 on. All right, confirm that entry. And now we see that we have our defective entry right there. When we go back to the summary, we should see those quantities reflected. And if I go to our consumption journal and do a refresh on it, do a refresh on it, I see that we've added an entry here to the consumption journal which has a defective description in it. Earlier I mentioned that we would talk about NAV widgets for iOS later on in the presentation, and so we're to that part right now. This is an application that is out on the iTunes App Store. It's a free application, and it is not rocket science functionality, but it is simply meant for making sure that you have proper connections to your NAV web services, that you have it set up right, and it will show some retrieval of information from it. First, we have the settings screen, and by the way, in the desktop widgets, there's also a preferences item where you set the address information and port and instance and your user authentication information in the desktop applications, and on the iPhone app we have that. And we have a number of tabs that will do, some web services. The first one is the Services tab, and we can see that if I do a get here, it will show all the services that we have enabled on the NAV server. Going back to before, the instance that we have out there, that here are the different services that we have enabled on NAV, and that's what's being reported back here. By calling the NAV server, it's getting the services that have been published. On the Companies tab, we're able to select one of our companies. Which NAV company do we want the information for? So if we select Kronos USA, when we go to the next tab, the Customers tab, and this is very basic functionality, but meant to show that we can do this through an iPhone app, and tap into Navision Web Services. So if I tell it to get customer number 10,000, it will go and get the Canon Group. If I tell it to get 30,000, it will get John Hancock. So in summary, I'd like to say is that I'm a firm believer in the web services side of Navision. I think that there's a lot of good things that can come from them, and I think things like these widgets show a lot of potential for evolving NAV, for the lightweight user, on the road user, to be able to tap into NAV information. More things like the job time card or the production order entry are meant to be targeted at individuals. So maybe they don't need a full NAV license to do what they need to do, but a straightforward widget would enable them to do what they need to do to tell NAV the information that they're giving them, such as outputting or consuming materials on a production order. If you like more information, you can come to this site here. If you are interested in the iPhone app, it's on the iTunes store under this name. Type in some keywords, you should find it. Thank you for your time.